federal government or the CBN maintains, that we still have a number of foreign exchanges, and we have people who are benefiting from this system. The Emir of Kano was talking about how a number of people can just sit down cool in their sitting rooms, make calls to the CBN, and get the exchange rate at whatever rate the CBN says, and be able to set it off on the market, and make a very cool profit without even sweating or moving so much as a limb. That accusation was made during this administration. How do we explain that for a government that says it's cracking down on corruption?
First of all, I'm not an economist, so I'm not going to pretend I know all the economic jargons that I would say to explain some of these things. I do know that for a fact that we were worried in the beginning when the naira kept going up against the dollar up to about 450 to about 500 naira point in time. It was a seriously worrisome time, and I know that for a fact that the economic team led by the vice president and under the instruction of the president said, well, hey, we need to do something about this. Whatever it is that's going on with the CBN needs to rectify this issue. And I think now it has been brought down to a manageable level between the exchange rate between the CBN and what is happening in the commercial banks. I'm not going to pretend I know all this, but let me tell you what I do know for a fact. I don't like looking backward as much as possible to say that, okay, Jonathan's administration is corrupt, because it is, and that, we are just a little bit better. No. My job, or I think the job of this administration, is just to stamp out corruption in the best way we can. Be systemic, do systemic reforms. And, he can go ahead with the argument of saying that corruption to a Nigerian, it's about money. Money is about economics. So I don't understand saying this is an economic argument that is different from corruption. It's like saying this is stealing, it's not corruption. That's how they do this argument. At the end of the day, once there is something that is illegal and then monies are exchanged hands, things have happened that are illegal, corruption is corruption. Our job ultimately in this administration is to make sure it doesn't happen again and stops happening.
We've seen a marked shift between the relationship between the executive and the legislature in this administration and in the past administration. Some observers will say, well, look, when the PDP was largely in control of NAS, they also controlled the executive, that there was harmony. Some people attribute that to kind of the wheels of corruption being well lubricated, and that no longer being the case, and there being some frustration there. Other people say that that's nonsense, that that's not true at all, that there's still corruption within the National Assembly, even though it's dominated by APC members. How do you defend that?
I don't know. I think you have to give me specifics of what corruption is in the National Assembly. I don't know.
Were you in the country when there was the whole padding scandal, for example?
No, I think this padding was, the issue was more sensationalized by the media much more than it was in reality. I think there was a lot of interviews then on Channels TV and AIT and so many other different channels where they discussed what this padding was. I think the issue between the National Assembly and the executive on our own part is pretty simple. There is, the president has maintained that they have to remain an independent organ, and that certain things would have to stop, and there are people that are pushing back naturally, and then they want to assert their independence. It's fine. At the end of the day, what is important is that we all work together for the benefit of the country. The president is not interested in taking control of the National Assembly, controlling who becomes what or do what as other presidents have done before, or interested in removing the leadership of the National Assembly. And the National Assembly have been asserting their independence fairly well. So there are different arms of government pretty well, so it's not a big deal.
Mr. Onoja, I just want to ask you quickly. I know your party right now is undergoing a kind of a rebranding, repositioning under the new chairman, Prince Secondas. Looking forward now, if your party has the opportunity to come back to power, what are some of the anti-corruption solutions that you are now offering to bring to the table to kind of reverse what happened yesterday?
One of the things that, and the party has tried to do this in the past, party needs to do better. Party is on record being the only political party that has stopped a governor from running for elections on the basis of corruption. Right?
I don't remember. Who was that?
Pres'l. He's a member of the APC now. But let's go on. Let's go on.
Well, some people would attribute that to the running feud he had with the former president, though.
Of course.
He was accused of corruption. He was arraigned. Another APC member, Festus Keyamo, SAN, my legal senior, was the prosecutor in that case. He withdrew from that because he was, again, a member of APC. But let's go on. Let's go on. If we look at it, some of the things that we need to do, re-strengthen, for instance, prosecution agencies. I have a whole chart that shows how badly underfunded our prosecution agencies are. That shows that over 2016, 2017, less than 2% of the EFCC budget was actually directed at legal services. I have a whole chart that shows that. Most of the EFCC budget during this period was expended towards construction of office buildings, purchase of vehicles, furnishing of office